Hey, what would it be worth if I could give you one question that would have a client or prospect identify for you exactly what they need in order to be closed to become a new client of your practice? And what if that same question would help you identify how far to plan out into the future as you're building their financial and estate plan? Tell you what, I'll give it to you for free. Stay tuned.
This is The Rare Advisor, proud to be a part of the Advisor Advancement Network and home of a business model supercharged by recurring and repeatable events. Your host is Mike Walters, CEO of USA Financial. He is an investment advisor representative of and securities are offered through USA Financial Securities, member FINRA SIPC, a registered investment advisor.
Hey, today I want to talk to you about the hindsight 2020 question. A great friend and business mentor of mine years ago wrote a book called Reminiscing About the Future. That was from Bob McDonald. It became almost a business plan for what ultimately was Life USA, and then, as you know today, is Allianz. And it was really intriguing because, as you can think about it, hindsight 2020, if you have the ability to reminisce about the future, you have the ability to project your thoughts, your ideas of where you need to be at a future point, and then backfill what has to take place to get you from point A to point B. So we have a similar question, and we've adopted it a bit from Strategic Coach with Dan Sullivan as well, but we call it the hindsight 2020 question. It kind of goes like this. If we were having this conversation a certain period of time into the future, what has to happen during that time for you to feel happy with your progress? Again, if we're having this conversation 6 months in the future, hindsight being 2020, looking back over that time, what needs to occur for you to be happy with that progress? And you can put whatever time frame in there that you'd like. Maybe it's 6 months, maybe it's a year, maybe it's 3 years, maybe it's 5 or 10 years down the road. Now, this is important because what this will uncover are two things. Number one, the investor, the customer, the prospect will essentially tell you the things that are important to them that need to take place in order for them to become a client of your firm. They'll tell you what they need to be closed on. Number two, you will identify what their stratum is, how far out they can think into the future, and what they can grasp from a long-term planning perspective. Because a lot of people don't have a long stratum. They might have a very short 6-month, 1 year, 2 year, 3 year stratum. They have a hard time wrapping their mind around something beyond a certain point. And you'll uncover that, be it 3 years or 5 years or 10 years, or sometimes it's even, months. It might be 12 months as a stretch for certain clientele. And that's why it's so important for you to bring them into a planning process. And I would say you always have to push them a step or two beyond where they would land mentally themselves so that they know you as the expert have their back and you can take them even further. So again, if we're having this conversation 3 years in the future, hindsight being 2020, looking back over this period of time, what needs to occur for you to be happy and content and excited about the progress that we make? And again, if they struggle at the 6-month request, if they struggle at the 1 year, the 3 year, the 5 year, the 10 year request, you'll find out where it is that they kind of hit their limit for being able to think into the future. Because if you ask it to them over, say, a 6-month period, they'll say, oh, well, I need to get a will in place. I need to change these investments. I really want to redesign the portfolio. Oh, and I want to start down the estate planning path. If you talk to them a little bit further down, they might have a hard time to say, oh, a year down the road. Well, gosh, a year down the road, I guess I hope for some of those same things, but maybe I'll start to include some of my adult children to understand why I'm doing this for them in the first place. And then you get 5 years down the road and you get that deer in the headlights look. Or maybe you get an answer at 5 years, but you lose it at 10 years and that kind of thing. So again, this will do two things for you. It will have the client literally articulate for you what it is that they need to have happen in order for them to become a client of your firm. And secondarily, you'll identify what kind of time horizon, what kind of stratum do they have in terms of an ability to plan and present and project, I should say, and wrap their mind around a plan and goals out into the distance of the future.
This information is for licensed financial professionals only and is not intended for use in soliciting sales from the public. The views expressed represent the opinions of the presenter or their featured guest, not necessarily those of USA Financial or its affiliated subsidiaries. Industry references are generic and not intended to represent actions or beliefs of any individual or entity. Content is only presented to illustrate general principles, beliefs, or ideas and should not be construed as legal or regulatory advice. Trademark and copyright protected. USA Financial and Affiliates.